Today we are going to discuss the topic the data warehousing and the partitioning strategies. Partitioning is done to enhance the performance and facilitate the easy management of the data. Partitioning also helps in balancing the various requirements of the system. It as it optimizes the hardware performance and simplifies the management of data warehouse by partitioning each fact table into multiple separate partitions. By partitioning a data warehouse which is of very large size, we get three advantages. First, it, we get the small size data is easy to manage. Second, that this can be easily restored or backed up. We can create the backup very easily in efficient way, and we can enhance the performance. As we all know that in comparison to the large size data, the smaller size of data can be easily handled, manipulated, and restored. So these are the example. These are the most common example of partitioning the large size data warehouse into smaller segments. And as we all know that we already divide the large size data warehouse in the smaller data mart, but here we are talking about the dividing the data mart itself into smaller partitions, which is already divided into multi-dimensionals. And for dividing, there are basically two strategy: horizontal partitioning and the vertical partitioning. In horizontal partitioning, we divide a single dimension into in three ways. In horizontal partitioning, there are various ways in which a fact table can be partitioned. These are basically three. And in horizontal partitioning, we have to keep in mind the requirement of the manageability of the data warehouse. In horizontal partitioning, we generally consider a single dimension and divided it in three ways, either of the three way or both, or all of them together. First, the partitioning the one dimension into equal segments, then the partitioning them into different size segment, and the third and the last is the partitioning on a different dimension. So first, starting with the partitioning with the equal segment, let's take an example of uh, state-wise population of India. Suppose along the x-axis we have marked the states of India, and along the y-axis we are representing the population of the corresponding states. In this table, suppose we are we have equally divided the x-axis into equal partitions which are at a distance of 1 centimeter or 1 centimeter each. Here the difference between the two states is same. It is not variable whether whichever is the state, it doesn't depend, and all the states lies at equal distance from each other. That's of the 1 centimeter, for example. So this is very familiar technique which we perform in the simple measurements. Also, like the scale, their scales are divided into centimeters and millimeter. So partitioning into the equal segments. For example, the bankings data can be divided into the day wise, equal day by day, or month by month, or year by year. Next comes the partitioning by time into different size segment. This is the this kind of partition is done where the age data is accessed infrequently. As the age data is accessed infrequently, so we generally do not them into the access them regularly. So the all of the chunks related to the past previous the data belonging to a age data can be grouped together in a larger segment rather than the data that is related to the current time. For example, while generating the bank statement, it is generally happens that we can generate this last 10 transactions statement. But if we want to see that what are the bank asks for the monthly bank statement also, but you cannot generate after 3 months, 6 months. After that, you roll back to a certain segment for generating the statement or printing the transactions, where you particularly input the starting date and the last date between which you want to print the statement. Like this kinds of query, the data segments is divided into the variable size of segment. For example, for month by 1 or 2 months, we shall keep the data into the size of month and size of months, like month 1, month 2, your current month, your last month. But the data earlier before that can be accessed in a way like quarterly data or half yearly data or annual data. So depending upon the user's requirement, the current data is divided into smaller segment and the data belonging to the uh, historical historical interest, then they are segmented into the larger size. Next comes the partitioning on a different dimension. Uh, this can be easily explained with help of a diagram. Suppose the same diagram that I have talked to you about, the states are marked along the x-axis and the population, their population is marked along the y-axis. Suppose we are interested in the population of the northeast state, then we can group together the 7 states, the Assam, Manipur, Mizoram, Arunachal and Assam, as a one block under the label of the northeast region of India. And similarly, the southern state can be combined together under the label of South India. Here we are dividing same x-axis into different blocks, different size segments, which are related by some different dimensions on by which are partitioned on the basis of some dimension other than the time, other than the state dimension. So because we here we are taking the reference of the region dimensions over the state dimension. So this kinds of partition is called the partition on different dimension. So these three all are called the horizontal partitioning. And in basically in horizontal partitioning, we deal with a single dimension, and as per our requirement, we divide it into same size segment, unequal size segments, or partition on a different dimension. Different, depending on the different dimension, we generate the segments. But we can generate all these three by using the round robin segmentation. What is round robin segmentation partition? In round robin technique, switches between all the three available options. So yeah, segments. Here we can divide the same state segment into the individual state wise. We can divide them on the basis of the regions, where the eastern region, South India, North India, or we can consider them whole as a state of India, and combine all these together into a single level India. So in round robin technique, when a new partition is needed, the old one is archived. It uses metadata to allow user access to refer to the correct table partition. Depending upon the user's request, we put our old one into the archive and put the data as per the current query into the current view. So this techniques makes it easy to automate the table management facilities within the data warehouse. Next comes the vertical partitioning. In vertical partitioning, split the data vertically. For example, in the given diagram, where there are 3 columns, the 3 columns are divided into 3 different parts, and here the name employee comes as a one entry, next the department number as a second entry, and the grade and title as a third entry. In it, basically there are 2 techniques that are used for vertical partitioning: the normalization and the row splitting. First one, normalization. Normalization means removing the redundancy. So here normalization is the standard relation method of database organization. In this method, the rows are collapsed into a single row, hence it reduces the space. Here, the multiple rows are merged to a single one by on basis of some common key attributes. For example, in the given table, here there are 4 entries, and out of these 3 entries have the store ID 16s. So we can merge, and they are the same information related with the source ID 16, like store name Sunny, and location is repeated here 3 times. So for removing redundancy, we merge all these 3 together into a single entry as 16 Sunny Bangalore and region South. Here mistakenly it is written as W, but here it should be as South. And there is just one entry for the store ID 64, that is San and Mumbai, and the region W. Instead of S, it is W or West. So the table has been normalized, and we have reduced the redundancy, eliminated the redundancy. So this is called the normalization, where we remove redundancy and multiple rows are merged into a single row. Now, next comes the row splitting. In row splitting tends to leave one-to-one map between partitions. The motive of the row splitting is to speed up the access of to large table by reducing its size. Basically, row splitting is done to speed up the access to large table by reducing the size. As we uh, truncate the data by on the basis of some certain attribute. This attribute is the main key which is used to perform the partition. For example, in the given example, which is account transaction table, there are 7 attributes: transaction ID, account ID, transaction time, value, transaction date, region, and branch name. Uh, Here, all of them could be the key partitioning element, but from the manager point of view, he will be, suppose from a bank manager point of view, he would be interested in region or the branch name rather than the particular transaction ID, because nobody deal with the particular transaction ID in generally, or recall the particular account number that frequently. So it would be better to choose region and transaction date as the partitioning key. For example, somebody is a bank manager of SBI, and he is interested in particularly a certain particular state like UP, the overall balance of this bank balance or the cash inflow into the bank. Then he would request uh, he would request the data warehouse for certain query, and if the data warehouse is could be partitioned as per region, then the query could be processed in much efficient way rather than scanning the all of the data warehouse. So by choosing a particular key, for example, in this case, state is equals to Uttar Pradesh, then the query can be processed in less time in comparison to scanning the whole data warehouse. So these are the basics of the vertical partitioning. So overall, we can say there are 2 partitioning strategies: horizontal partitioning and vertical partitioning. In horizontal partitioning, there are 3 methods: partitioning in equal size, partitioning in variable size, and partitioning as per some other dimension. And we can use all these 3 together by using the round robin partitioning. And next comes the vertical partitioning, in which there are two methods: the normalization and the row splitting. So that's all about the data warehouse partitioning.